President-elect Donald Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election has been officially certified by Congress. The counting of the electoral votes happened during a joint session of the Senate and House, which was officiated by Trump's opponent and current president of the Senate, Vice President Kamala Harris. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins us now from Capitol Hill. Nikole, good to see you. How did the certification process go? Were there any hiccups?
There really weren't. It was relatively uneventful, but eventful from the standpoint that this was the first time we have witnessed that electoral vote count since January 6, 2021, where, of course, it was a much different scene and, of course, where that process was interrupted when a mob descended here on the U.S. Capitol and was here for hours, basically suspending the process as rioters stormed through the Capitol. So from that standpoint, we did not see any of that. Probably the only hiccup was the many inches of snow that you cannot see here inside, but that are outside on the Capitol complex and grounds, which made it a little prickly and tricky for some lawmakers to get here. But other than that, we witnessed the electoral votes being counted one by one, state by state. Interestingly, just to give you a little bit of color, at times some of those electoral vote certificates were apparently sent via FedEx, because we saw a few FedEx envelopes as these certificates were being taken out and read. But again, relatively uneventful. We heard the vice president, who served as the president of the Senate, presiding over this session, in essence, at the end of this, reading out the results after they had been announced by the respective tellers who went through each state. So for the most part, we did not see anything unusual, just the continuation of a peaceful transfer of power, which is what everyone in that chamber was committed to today.
And how was the mood inside? And we should remind our folks that this really wouldn't be a newsworthy event had it not been for 4 years ago. I also want to ask you, in addition to the mood, the vice president presided over this process. What did you see from her during this?
Well, again, she fulfilled her duty from the standpoint of presiding over the session and ultimately reading out the results, even though she was not the victor. And what was interesting was towards the end of the session, we did see her announce the results, with President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance getting some 312 electoral votes. So we saw Republicans and on their side of the chamber standing up and applauding. Then she went to read her own name and her electoral vote count, and the Republicans were kind of still applauding and kind of stepped on her reading her own name. But then we saw Democrats stand up and applaud for her and her running mate, Tim Walz, again, even though they were not successful with respect to the 2024 election. And then we saw, following that, both the vice president and J.D. Vance, who happened to be in the chamber, being glad-handed, hugs, handshakes by their respective members of Congress. Republicans congratulating J.D. Vance, Democrats, many of them expressing their appreciation for the vice president. So there was a very collegial atmosphere inside of the chamber, but a very solemn one as well, with everyone certainly understanding the weight of this moment, the importance of this moment, particularly in light of what we witnessed 4 years ago.
Okay, Nikole Killion, thank you so much.